Welcome to Collective Silversations. I'm Jody Jones, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this amazing journey exploring spirituality, healing, and personal growth. With over 15 years of experience as a psychic medium and energy healer, I've made it my mission to help people connect with their true selves, and I can't wait to share this journey with you. In every episode, I chat with incredible guests who bring their own unique stories and insights to the table. We dive into different tools and practices that can help support you on your path of self-discovery. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in this journey for a while, Collective Silversations is all about creating a friendly and welcoming space for us to explore the mysteries of the soul together. So grab your favorite cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive into this enlightening adventure together. Hey everybody, welcome to Collective Silversations. I am your host, Jody Jones, and I have one of my favorite podcast guests back today. He may become a bit of a regular, and that's okay because I got to tell you the truth about this. I'm doing this solely for my own pleasure, but it's out. I am doing the podcast just so that I can talk to really interesting, high vibrational, funky people. So yeah, there you go. So today I have Chrys Kyng with us in the house. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chrys, and I'm going to bring him on and we're going to get into our soulversation. So, having been obsessed with witches, Native American culture, astrology, and all things paranormal from an early age, Chrys always knew that he came here with a big mission. His experience as a musician, an actor, and a plant-based health coach laid the foundation for the work that he offers today. And after several awakenings and profound mystical experiences, he left his high-paying corporate job to pursue a passion full-time. And he's now a shamanic healer, a spiritual business mentor, founder of Ascended Astrology and ApothyCare. I knew I was going to mess it up, Chrys. ApothyCare, there we go. Medicine alchemy, as well as the creator of Microdose, a line of high-performing microdosing blends. He loves creating magical experiences in the form of shamanic ceremonies and medicine retreats, and he facilitates in sacred locations all across the globe. He is passionate about assisting lightworkers and starseeds and in activating their soul mission and healing themselves by tapping out of the false matrix and creating a new earth. Welcome, Chrys. Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and
I
have a
told you I
soul
was going to
conversation with you.
totally smudge that, the ApothyCare. I totally was going to smudge it.
Well, now you've got it.
We'll see till
It's
the
like when
next
we
time.
don't try, we get it.
That's right. Yeah. We'll see till the next time we come. You might have to remind me again about it.
Yeah.
So, well, let's go for just before we jump into our conversation. Tell me about that part of your business because maybe I'm glitching on it because I don't know enough about it and I should know more about it. So
Sure.
tell us about that part of your business.
So, ApothyCare is under the Medicine Alchemist. So that belongs to medicinealchemist.com and the Medicine Alchemist, which is the social media presence. But it's everything I do in the realm of shamanic healing, energy work, grid work, microdosing, and medicine retreats. So, ApothyCare is a sector of the Medicine Alchemist, and it's called ApothyCare Medicine Alchemy, and it's a system of 13 sacred medicines, some clinical medicines, some shamanic spirit medicines, some mycelial mushroom medicines, and then also mineral medicine like monoatomic gold. And we use these medicines in different alchemical elixirs, is the best word I could use. Without using the word potion or something like that. But basically, we're combining different medicines in a way that people normally don't do to create very synergistic and customized medicine experiences for people that are better for the modern age and the kind of age of Aquarius that we're moving into. So it kind of bridges the gap between their indigenous grounded, ceremonial, um, tribal ways of working with medicine and in ceremony, and bridges that with sort of a new modern clinical approach and brings it together into this somewhat luxurious, high vibrational experience. And of course, the microdosing blends called Microdose. There are 5 blends. All of this realm of my business is devoted to healing, DNA repair, neural pathway rewiring, basically all the intentions that we have for our life, for our ascension process, for our business as spiritual practitioners. Uh, all seem to coalesce in the fact that we have to start with major healing and acceleration. And in my process and in my experience, plant medicine and medicine work has been one of the most accelerating aspects of my process and in my client's process as well. So, Medicine Alchemist is like it's my business is split into 3 parts. There's the business coaching and business mentorship, where I have courses, and I also design websites for spiritual entrepreneurs, and I'm really devoted to helping them tap out of the matrix using astrology, this new system of astrology I've downloaded. And once you master yourself and you master your ascended matrix chart, you're able to go into the medicine world and really clear out all of those densities and programs and false matrix mind control programs and traumas and all those loops that we get caught in. And then once you've really mastered that and you're stepping up into your power, your soul mission is activated, that's where I feel very passionate about saying, well, what's your brand? What does your the spirit of your business, your soul mission wants to show up in some way, and you need to receive abundance and energy exchange for that. So it's going to show up in our modern time right now, as 3D as it may sound, as business. So, and branding. So I really want to help spiritual entrepreneurs kind of tap out of this, go into their website and it looks like something from 2001. And we love it. They're really good at what they do. They're masters of grid work and timeline jumping and
Right.
shamanic healing and being oracles and priestesses. Their thing is not creating logos and brands and marketing themselves and creating websites. It's the last thing on their mind. So I want
Right.
to help supplement that so that we can compete with the 3D world
Yeah.
to bridge that gap so that spiritual entrepreneurs, new earth leaders, light workers, mystics, healers, psychics become the wealth holders and the wealth workers in the world, because that's really the only way we're going to shift the paradigm and create a bridge for the millions or even billions of people that haven't awakened yet. There will be a bridge for them to cross if we can step up in a really visceral way.
Yeah, absolutely. So much there that Spirit was just giving me the insights about. So I want to start off just with the when you're working with the business where you're bringing in the medicine to heal everybody. This is really important, and I want to just ask you, because you are psychic, because you are a medium, because you channel, are you going in and getting, so this is not just okay, so take some B12 because this is good for you, take some golden seal because it's good for you. Have you been going in and getting the downloads on the specific vibrational medicine to bring into these remedies? That are you call, are they remedies? What do you call them?
Yeah, so these medicines are psychedelic medicines.
Yeah.
So not all of them, but most of them are. Like out of the 13 medicines that we have, um, 3 of them are not technically psychedelic, but the other ones are. So there's medicines like ceremonial cacao, sassafras, blue lotus, which we call anti-lotus, Uncle Sass. It's a whole family
Right.
that we have. Then there's grandmother ayahuasca, grandfather wachuma, the cactus medicine, godfather iboga, which is incredible for timeline jumping and addiction in addictive loops. And then you have clinical medicines like MDMA, MDA. Then you have the psilocybin medicines. We work with 3 different forms of psilocybin that are very unique, and they're the most powerful in the world. And the entire point is to give people medicine experiences that aren't the sole focus of the retreat. It's not the sole reason why we're healing, but these this grandmother energy, this uncle energy, they come in and they act as spirit guides, and they also have extreme benefits for the brain, the heart, and the body
Mhm.
as you're working with them in the spirit realm. So instead of when you come to an experience with me, usually our retreats are set up a certain way where we will be working with certain medicines this night and then another medicine the second night as a group. If someone was to come to me and said, I don't want to work with that medicine, we have something for them and something for everyone at all levels. And this system is really designed to give people at every level exactly what they need in that moment. And
Right.
yes, there is channeling that's involved, but there's also what the client brings on their intake form and what their intentions are. And generally, we have people who are advanced. They've been working with psychedelics for years. They've gone to ayahuasca retreats and gone to iboga retreats in Africa. Then I have people who've never done it before. And so I can meet everyone where they are.
That's
And these
beautiful.
experiences are done in a way where you're in a very comfortable setting.
Hmm.
And this is just the way that I've been pulled to do medicine work, where others may be pulled to go study with someone in Peru for many years and do it out in the jungle with the curandero and the shamans of those indigenous tribes. I have worked with those realms and these mentors, but I feel really called to create a bridge for the people who say, I would never go do that, but they actually need it,
Hmm. Right.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And also, my most amazing experiences did not happen in Peru, okay? They didn't happen in the jungle. Some of my best experiences happened in a really nice cabin somewhere in the middle of the woods on a retreat. And so, in the past 13 years that I've been working with medicine, I noticed that there were certain aspects of the medicine world that were outdated,
Hmm.
that needed to be brought into a more modern realm with as much respect and ethical responsibility as I can possibly muster. We donate to several organizations. A certain percentage of our proceeds or our medicine work goes back to replanting ayahuasca vines, creating sustainable farming practices with these indigenous tribes that are creating these medicines. And all of that is really powerful for me because I embody the Chiron archetype.
Right.
And Chiron was the wounded healer in the Ascended Astrology. He's the shaman or the rainbow bridge. And so Chiron in mythology was a plant medicine healer. He loved herbs and medicines. He was a musician, a medium, an astrologer, a healer, and a teacher. And that's everything that I do. So it all seems to be all over the place unless you look at Chiron and realize it all falls really under that umbrella. So
Right. All
for
comes
me,
together.
yeah, medicine is not the reason we're healing, but it's like swallowing a spirit guide or a master teacher and letting it completely work through you and harmonizing with its frequency. And we've been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years since the time of Lemuria.
Right.
And on other planets, they're working with other entities on their planet, whether it's stones and plants and fungi and animals. There are many different ways that the shamanic energies show up. And we don't just work with medicine. Drumming is medicine, rattling is medicine, the
Hmm.
voice is medicine, our energy work. I do a specific type of energy work on people. That is medicine. The plant-based foods that are all organic we feed you at the retreats are medicine. So the entire experience is meant to detox you, rewire neural pathways, knock you out of a timeline into a higher timeline, and allow you to manifest without nearly as much resistance as you do when you're trying to manifest in your bathroom or just on a Tuesday.
Right.
Come into a container on a sacred site. We do our retreats in Sedona, Mount Shasta, Mount Kilauea in Hawaii, and Joshua Tree, so that you're actually journeying and working with these medicines on vortex points and on ley lines so that
Right.
the energy is so conducive for you as a master light worker and new earth leader and grid worker to retemplate reality from within, so
Hmm.
that when you step up into your soul mission and you say, now I'm ready to retemplate the whole matrix and be one of those people who steps up into that role,
Hmm.
you've already mastered that in a new way. You know,
Yeah.
medicine was once used to commune with the dead, commune with spirit. And then now, for the past thousands of years, we've been using it to heal trauma because we exist in a false matrix. But what happens when there's no trauma? Because
Right.
that's a reality that's waiting for us. What happens when there's not that duality that's in
Right.
place? Well, the medicines are there then to just continue helping you to evolve and accelerate up from joy to bliss. It
Right.
doesn't have to be from depression to peace. It can be from $1 million to $1 billion, you know, and I'm just
Right.
using
Yeah.
as an example.
Yeah, and I feel like energetically, the entire experience around using medicine in that way has changed. And so, just as an example, if I look back, to, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I can remember looking at plant medicine as being like, these people are spiritual bypassing. They're going on the ayahuasca trips repeatedly, 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 spending all of this money, going and doing the same thing, and they're not doing the work. They're not. And so, there was somebody like myself who was like, being put through my dark night of the soul and the Kundalini awakening and all, just as if you guys go and listen to Chris's first video with us, he's got quite the uh, ascension story of his beginnings with that. um, Very similar to mine. So, as an example, people like Chris and I really had to do the work. Like, it was not, here's a little magic medicine for you. It's not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to help you. So it's very interesting. At one point in my journey, I probably sat in a bit of judgment around that, right? And I can
Many people
remember
have.
one of the calls that you and I went on when I was going through my healing crisis, and you were a great person that I came to help me with that. And I remember you kind of gently being like, "Well, maybe some Blue Lotus, Jody. I feel that vibrational energy for you." And I was like, "No, Chris, you don't understand. I can't even have a sip of wine. I can't even smoke a joint without my body reacting to it." And obviously you could feel the resistance with me because you didn't push it. You weren't like, "You need to take this," right?
Right.
But if I feel back on the version of me, and this is interesting, and I want us to get into this, of the point of being a light worker, of the point of being, a healer, a guide, a guru, a teacher in this new earth, is that we evolve and we change all of the time. So that version of Jody that was going through all of her stuff and her healing at the time really would have been like poo-pooing the medicine, because I was like, it's not for me. I don't need it. So why do they need it? Why are they using it? But interestingly enough, fast forward to where we are now and where I am, and what I feel like is we are in such a pivotal time right now on this earth where so many of us who are light workers, true light workers, and we'll get Chris to talk to us about this. We are like, we're being called, like, you're come now, you're on the front line. This is time to show up. We're doing the work. But here's the thing, we need your vibration to be a little bit different than what it is, right? And so the way I see the medicine now, and I have other colleagues who are, you know, brilliant healers, guides, mentors, and I, have a great reverence for them. They're doing the ayahuasca. They're doing it like I saying, I would never have done it before. I didn't need it. I didn't need it before, but now I'm doing it. And I'm not doing it over and over again, but I feel like it's giving them that, like Spirit's just saying, that little bit of frequency adjustment that's required for many. And so I love it that, and I feel like it should be a prerequisite before you're allowed to become a light worker on planet Earth. You need to go through Chris's program to make sure that you're of the right caliber. Do you know what I mean? It's unfortunately in our industry, unfortunately in what we do, there's no bar that you have to pass. Do you know what I mean? There's no level of
Yeah.
standard that is required to do this. And so I feel like, and tell us what you think about this, that those false light workers, or the people maybe that have good intentions but just aren't vibrationally calibrated to do the job yet,
Right.
they're going to fall away from it. They're not going to be able to do it. Well, the
Yeah.
masses are not going to come to them. What's your feeling on all of that?
Well, first, I want to say back to the plant medicine. And if I go on a tangent, bring me back to what you just asked me, because I want to start with the plant medicine. My Kundalini awakening was induced by psilocybin. I do not believe it was the sole reason, but it prepared me and accelerated the process. I had a really intense mushroom experience about 6 months before my Kundalini awakening.
Mhm.
And when people say things like, I don't need the medicine, I don't need that, I respect them and I respect how they feel. But I also, if anyone feels that way, I also want you to know that you do not have to eat. You don't need food. You actually can stare into the sun every morning for about 30 minutes to an hour, and that will replenish all your cells. And after about 45 to 90 days, you'll stop being hungry, you'll stop needing food altogether, and you will become breatharian.
But how many
So
of us could actually do that?
that's my point, is why would
Right.
you not want to accept the wisdom of a multi-million year old
Right.
plant
Right.
consciousness?
Yes.
Because, for instance, ayahuasca is a spirit guide on other planets, and she
Right.
incarnated on this planet as a vine.
Right.
So these plants have been here since before the false matrix, before Lemuria, before the Sasquatch were the keepers of the planet,
Right.
millions of, before the dinosaurs,
Right.
before all of these things. And so what you're tapping into is something so primordial and ancient that people think that people go to have psychedelic experiences to escape something. And sometimes people do, that is their intention.
Mhm.
Most of these medicines will not let you escape something. I've had experiences that were, they make you do the work. The
Right.
medicine brings stuff up and doesn't fix it for you always. That's the beautiful thing about them. But the other aspect is that these medicines can actually rewire neural pathways. For instance, MDMA, which can be used in a negative way as a drug, a party drug, when it's in its pure state in the form that we use it from MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. That MDMA is designed and created from, it's actually comes from sassafras. So sassafras plant, you can make MDA, and from MDA you can make MDMA. And those medicines that are clinical, you could say, oh, that's a drug. Even they have an incredible ability to turn off the amygdala so that when you talk about your trauma, you're not triggered. And that gets recorded. And that's why it's so healing for PTSD. I have clients who have healed PTSD. My PTSD was healed from MDMA and
Wow.
psilocybin.
Wow.
So, and for instance, I had an experience 7 years, 6 years ago where I was working with mushrooms and ayahuasca in a combination, and it was a beautiful experience. And I saw myself in the mirror at the end of the night as it was starting to dissipate, and I saw myself as attractive for the first time in my entire life.
Wow.
Because I have Chiron conjunct the ascendant in astrology, which means I embody the Chiron archetype. And when you have the wounded healer archetype sitting on your appearance and your persona, your entire essence feels like your appearance is even part of your wound. And
Mhm.
so when I saw myself like that, it shifted something, and I was able to accept my body and everything about it for the first time in my entire life. And it has not shifted back since.
Wow.
That was an overnight experience.
Yeah.
I have talked to my future self, who has told me things to look forward to and things that I was going through hell at one time. And during a medicine experience, my future self always comes to me in the medicine experiences and had a full blown conversation with me one time, telling me, this is what you have to look forward to, this is what you're moving toward. And I could have gotten that in a deep meditation, sure. Sure, but I had not up to that point. The thing about the medicines is that they can actually put you in a state that it can sometimes take 12 hours of transcendental meditation to get to. And
Right.
like
Right.
you said, are we really ready to be breatharian?
No.
We are as a species moving in that direction, but there are things that can help bridge the gap. If you go in to work with the medicine and you say, I want you to fix my eating disorder, The medicine is going to bring up why you have the eating disorder and not fix it for you. It will never actually act like a crutch. So when people keep going to it, it's not because the medicine doesn't have the code that they need. It's that the medicine shows them what they need to do, and then they go home and don't do it.
Right, right.
That's why integration is so important. When you go on medicinealchemist.com, you're going to see the word integration everywhere. Psychedelic integration, integration support, because most of our work, like a Daily Dose Diary, it's a 300-page microdosing and integration workbook that I created. The entire point of that is so that when you're working with our microdosing blends, you're not just taking them at random or just taking them. You're actually, whatever insight, emotion, memory comes up, you're writing it down, you're working through it, you're processing it on your own. That you're right about that. Except it's people who believe that the medicines are escape tools when they really are not. As a medicine facilitator, some of them still make me nervous
Hmm.
because of what it will show me that you
Right.
cannot escape from in the moment. I've had experiences with medicine that were so frightening because one of them, because I didn't have a shaman present and I shouldn't have taken that much. Okay, I don't regret it. It was incredible.
But this is the
But
mushroom. This is
yes, the
yes.
9 gram mushroom trip, don't you
Right.
ever take that much
Right.
psilocybin. I didn't realize I took that much until the next day when I kind of did the math and
Right.
also was like, okay, I'm still alive because I thought I was going to die for real.
Right. Right.
And you can't, when I ended up being okay again, I had a little PTSD after that, and then medicine healed that PTSD. It
Right.
was incredible how it works. And I've also had experiences with some of the medicine where it did rub my face in memories that I did not want to relive,
Mm-hmm.
which is why a lot of people don't want to come do that. And I remember going through it and telling myself, I can't do this. And then I would hear ayahuasca say, she said to me one time, sit down, you paid for this. And so I listened to her and I thought during like that it was going to mess me up. That was
Right.
how intense it was during. And then she brought me to such a beautiful place almost to reward me for doing that.
Right. Right.
I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little emotional and that is not, I
Yeah.
don't need to
It's a
apologize for
big
that. It's
deal.
just
That's a big deal. Absolutely. To feel that kind of connection, that kind of support, that kind of, yes. That's beautiful.
as masters of duality for a plant medicine, that everyone talks about to sort of choose you and work with you, it felt special. It was like
Right.
working with, you know, Archangel Michael or, just someone that we all put on such a pedestal. And then for her to take me to hell and then take me to heaven, it was like, wow, I can't undo that. I'll never be able to come
Yeah.
back from that.
Forever
And
changed. Yeah, that
medicine
imprint is there for
forever
sure.
changed, Jody,
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And also these medicines, they vibrate with 5D. They vibrate so strongly that 5D consciousness, they want so badly to help us. I'm getting chills all over because I can feel them. They
Yeah.
really are like a family. Mama Cacao and Auntie Lotus and Uncle Sass, and they all have their place and they do different things and they want so badly to just align us to the original frequency of Mama Gaia or Tara,
Hmm.
which is 5D before
Right.
the false matrix. So,
Right.
for those of us who approach it with the not right energy, but with the energy that matches that frequency, there's
Hmm.
no escape. There's no not doing the work. Medicine can go into your DNA and actually decode and lift things out of your DNA strand that has
Right.
been living there for thousands of years in your family line and
Right.
bring it up for you
Yeah.
where 30 days after the retreat you're in the shower and immediately you feel like you're having a miscarriage. Me as in a male body, even though I identify as dual gender, in a male body, feeling the baby that was ripped out of me in whatever year that was,
Right.
1000 or like 12 BC. I don't know the exact date
Right.
of these
Right. Right.
memories that come up
Yeah.
during these
Yeah.
medicine
Yeah.
experiences, but grieving the loss of that child and also realizing that's why I chose a male body this time because it was unsafe to be female and those types of things you're just not going to come to always in your 30-minute meditation. And you
Yeah.
don't need the medicines, but what they also do is they teach you how to get there.
Right.
You can think it's doing it for you, so you can't get there on your own. Well, wouldn't you rather someone walk you down into the black hole and show you that you're going to be okay so that when you do it on your own, you feel the tether and you know you can make your way out? Some people won't even enter
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's so dark or it seems like an abyss or it's a never-ending process.
Yeah.
So the medicines have this ability to, down to a DNA level, turn on the DNA strands. Isn't that what we're trying to do? So that's like telling someone you don't need to eat celery, you can just look into the sun. When actually eating celery does give you lots of benefits, and you are merging with a plant medicine when you eat celery. So
Right.
why is merging with ayahuasca any different?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
why is merging with psilocybin any different when
Mhm.
they have incredible, even nourishing abilities for your body?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just the way it goes. And now where I want to go with this next is ego. The number one thing I have found to dissolve ego, besides meditation, is plant medicine. That's why
Hmm.
people are afraid to do it because I've had medicine experiences where I didn't know the difference between me and the car and the ceiling fan, and it was frightening because I wasn't me anymore.
Right.
But what do you think that does when you come back? That makes you realize your ego structure gets shaken, dissolved, cracked, if not transformed altogether, which is what everyone's trying to do. And when you mention false light workers and things like that, I know what you mean, and everyone listening knows what you mean, but I just want to be the person who says, let's not call them false light workers because they're all on their path. But I know what you mean because I've actually encountered some of these actual false light workers that were reptilian, and not all reptilians are. They're telling me you're not going to get we're not going to get in trouble for using that word, but if certain other words come up, I'm going to start using code.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds good.
but not all lizard beings,
There we
right,
go. That's good. Yeah.
are negative, but there is a race of them that rules the planet or thinks it rules the planet. We outnumber them greatly, and they are not as powerful as we are, even though they're huge and tall and scary looking to us.
Right.
Um, they they have so much ego. Their consciousness is so hierarchical that you'll find that the human race is sort of emulating that because of how much influence they have on us in the
Right.
mind control traps and the mind control frequencies coming from the moon and everything. All of that is initiated and implemented by the alpha. Okay, so
For those who are they're going to be listening and not watching it,
the
will
alpha dragons.
there we go.
About that.
There we go.
So
We're
from the
trying not to get
Draco
shut
star
down. We
system.
had a
Yeah.
video that Chris and I did together. It was my only video, and YouTube completely took it off. They were like,
I
"Nope,
know.
nope."
Yes, and we just want to be careful about certain things because the censorship is coming all the way down from the global elite, and it's all distortion to keep people
Right.
from actually speaking truth, which is why there's Rumble channels and things like that.
Absolutely. Which is a good segue into because so when you were talking about, these are the original medicines, which is the truth of it, right? When we're coming so far out of the programming, we're coming so far out of the, the being hypnotized, where that all of this stuff, all of the plant medicines that you're talking about were the original medicines. They have been on this planet since the beginning of the planet. So just from a frequency perspective, and I'm getting goosebumps about this, if you think about certain plants that have been growing since the beginning of time, all plants are sensory beings, right? They feel,
Yes.
hear, smell, touch, all experience all of it. They've been gathering all of this information, all of it, and they do it through the light because you see how they become activated. They come out of the dark, but they do it in the light.
Yeah.
So no wonder those are the most powerful medicines. And thank God that the collective is shifting enough that we are now bringing this stuff back. Do you know what I mean? It's not just the
Yes.
hippies in the 60s that were,
Right.
doing the trips on the mushrooms and the medicines. It's
Right.
now the light workers that have
Yeah.
the access to this medicine.
Yeah.
And I have to say this because Spirit just keeps showing me this. It always comes down to frequency. Everything is a frequency. It contains a frequency. We're frequency emitters.
Yeah.
And so The fact that we can use, and you're using frequency in the form of plants in plant medicine. I, was called to start bringing in frequency to use with my clients and working with the technology of the AO scanner, the bioresonance, that,
Yeah.
using all of the scalar frequencies, the rife frequencies.
Right.
But it's all frequencies. It's just in a different format, or a different way that we can visualize it, right? So I love the fact that, the plant medicine that you're working with is going to appeal to a certain demographic that will feel drawn to that. And I highly encourage anybody who's feeling that little nudge or that wonder or that calling, like, answer that calling, to use that. And the same thing for, the people that I work with. Maybe you're a little bit more left brained. Maybe you need a little bit more, it has to feel scientific to you, or it has to feel, do you know what I mean? There has to be
Right.
that kind of science behind it. Then, definitely explore the stuff that I use with clients, because for me, and just like your medicine for you, that frequency medicine came to me on my healing journey when I needed it. It
Right.
couldn't have come before because I wasn't vibrationally ready to receive it. It wouldn't have done nothing for me.
Right.
But once I started to do the work, once I started to, drink the celery juice and do and stop, all of the stuff that I'm not supposed to be doing that lowers my, vibrational frequency, once I start to do that, then I could bring in the frequencies and they work with me. Then
Yeah.
they work. So it's the same thing, and that's probably why, back in the day when we'd say, "Oh, I'll look at all these people doing these ayahuasca trips, but look at them vibrationally. They're not changed. Nothing's changed with them." And that's just because there's no benefit, and Spears just saying this, there's no benefit to it if you haven't been vibrationally prepared or prepped.
That's right. And there are times where, like Wachuma, Iboga, and ayahuasca, these are the three like top spirit medicines. These are the
Hmm.
spirit medicines that I use. They're more advanced than Antilotus, Uncle Sass, Mama Cacao, and the clinical medicines. Psilocybin and those three are they're going to be your main spirit medicines. They do not always work with everyone in ceremony. There have been times where I've been in ceremony where people weren't feeling anything. And
Wow.
then this one over here, who took less, is
Yeah.
having this incredible experience
Yeah.
because these master teachers know there are times where people work with ayahuasca and they have a subtle experience,
Right.
and then they go home and grandmother follows them home and works with them in their dreams for weeks after
Right.
that. And they're like,
Right.
is this supposed to happen? I feel
Right.
like I'm still journeying.
Right.
Yes, because you didn't feel safe at the retreat down at a cellular level because there
Right.
were other people, even though you thought you did.
Right.
So
Right.
now that you're at home alone, she's continuing to work with you.
Right.
The medicine experience is beautiful and complements the rife and scalar frequencies that you are working with. It complements so many different things because it doesn't compete in that way, and they
Right.
can really work beautifully together.
Yeah.
And the medicine is such a multidimensional cellular experience where these medicines become master teachers. You know, I'm
Right.
wearing ayahuasca vine right now, and this is serpentine that's in the shape of Wachuma the cactus, grandmother and grandfather. And they really hold that masculine and feminine polarity very strongly, which is why we work with both. And they do very different things. But what they do in common is that they sort of pick and choose. They have a little bit more of a human essence or a sort of avatar to them,
Hmm.
where like psilocybin, they're very alien and they don't usually come. You know, Mama Cacao can often come as this mother or this kind of Peruvian medicine shaman or Mexican medicine shaman, and we can feel her and see her that way. And people sense them in different ways, but they all have this ability to the spirit medicines kind of work with you at whatever level you're at.
Right.
There are people
Right.
who go to the ayahuasca retreats in Peru and they didn't feel anything the whole time. They just threw up.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
what if you didn't follow the dieta and they actually just cleared out so much toxicity from your body, which is why
Hmm.
we have an intense preparation experience prep before retreats,
Right.
so
Right.
that the medicines aren't clearing out your physical body. They can actually just take you into spirit because it's about density.
Right,
They
right.
they're
Yeah.
it's quite a multi-sensory and multi-dimensional process. It's not just take this and see what happens. These medicines can decide based on your essence and your higher self. Um, Not that you're not worthy. It's never a judgment. They're
Right.
plants,
Yeah, but
but
not ready. You can be
it's
I
resonance. It's
you know,
vibration.
I mean, I know somebody who, you know, who was a psychic medium, uh, was always a little bit kind of like, and would bring out the worst human parts in me because I would get into a lot of judgment. But it was just because there wasn't a lot of spiritual foundation in what she did. It
Right.
was more of a, I want to be a superstar. I want to be on
Yes.
TV. I want to be.
Ooh, let's go into that.
Right. So,
Let's
but
go into
so she went on a plant medicine trip. She did did the whole thing, and she ended up in the emergency room having a panic attack because of it. And
yeah.
when I listened to her account of it, because she came out and she told everybody about it, I thought, well, no doubt, like you, that was, do you know what I mean? Vibrationally, she was not at the point, like
I agree with you.
right, you can't show up and do the plant medicine and not be at the right frequency to receive it. It will backfire on you, and I feel like it's a good, I hope that she was able to take that and be like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. I've got some more
Yeah.
work to do. I've got some more density to let go of, right?
Yeah, and I believe that medicine work is not right for everyone right now or maybe ever. I have to give it that, even though I feel like there's benefit in some of the medicines. I believe if she had come to someone like me or had come to an experience like mine, it would have been much safer. These people who wear their Lululemon and go to Starbucks every day, they think they're not going to be freaked out by going to a Maloka out in the middle of the jungle with a shaman who doesn't even speak the language that they speak.
Right, right,
There's a fear that can come up. There's so much discomfort, and you're going to carry that into your medicine experience. That's why
right.
set and setting are
Yeah,
so important. And also, people go to the jungle and they're not ready for these intense levels of medicine, which is why we taper people. We'll start them with doses and give them doses throughout the night so that they can sort of decide. Our more experienced people, we will give them something different. It's not like we just give everyone the same thing. And, if someone is not ready for a certain medicine, we have other medicines that can, like, for instance, we mix um, Blue Lotus, a strong Blue Lotus dose, which for us would be very powerful,
hmm,
especially on the inside, but for many people, they would barely feel it. It's like cacao. I journey with cacao. It's very powerful for me
right,
in the heart. Other people, they're like, my coffee feels stronger than this. And I'm like, you're
right,
not tapped into her essence enough to really know how to work
right,
with her.
right.
But I mix anti-lotus with a medicine that I call lemon sky, which is a very fun medicine, very multidimensional. It is psychedelic and it has a heart opening effect, but it's not creepy crawly like the mushrooms. It doesn't get all up into your shit. It's very fun feeling. It's actually a medicine we work with when we need to open our imagination, which is what anti-lotus does, to give anti a kick, to
Right,
give
right,
her a longer experience, something that's more multidimensional.
right,
And that experience can help someone who's never worked with psychedelics before have a psychedelic experience
right.
so that they know, oh, I'm safe.
Hmm.
It can get really colorful and very geometric, but I'm safe
Right.
because that can
Yeah.
be scary to some. Even for me, it's beautiful to watch the medicines when they're very visual at first, which is when you're crossing through different dimensions. You're going to see the geometry of what's happening as you're climbing into the dimensions.
Right.
Can be scary for some, especially when you see all these eyes and faces and things. Those are part of your psyche that are trying to create shapes and images into things. It's actually you. It's not the medicine. It's you. It's your higher self. It's your
Right.
psyche.
Right.
And I know I hear you. The medicines are here and they're really loving that we're talking about them, and giving them so much. I'm such a Cancer rising. I'm gonna cry again. Cool it. But especially when I talk about Auntie Lotus, she's like her mother ayahuasca. She loves to say, I'm here, okay?
Right. Likes
And
to show up.
And she would love to work with you, Jody. She was the medicine that the Egyptians used for thousands of years to decalcify their pineal gland, to open the third eye. They
Right.
used it to astral project. They could have done it on their own. Why did they use Auntie? Because she grew right out of the Nile.
Wow.
She grew right there. She spoke to them, work with me. I have this ability to be used as a party agent. They would use it in their sex magic rituals and things like that. It has an
Right.
aphrodisiac effect,
Right.
but it is a powerful third eye opener, right brain opener. When we are, going about our day and we don't have time to meditate for several hours, Anti-Lotus can assist in a natural process of opening you up psychically. She's a psychic activator and a remembrance medicine. She helps you remember who you are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Wow, how beautiful. You call on Archangel Michael and you call on Lakshmi and you call on Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. Why are these medicines not treated that way? Why are they
Right.
looked at as drugs? If someone looks at them as a drug or a chemical agent,
Hmm.
you are missing the fact that the plant spirit inside of the plant has an energy signature
Right.
that is so specific that it created chemical compounds that matched that frequency.
Right.
And those chemical compounds cause your body to merge with the plant spirit from mind, body, and spirit together rather than just working with it in spirit. Because I will say to the audience and to you, you can call on these medicine spirits at any time in your meditation and your healing work. And you can work with grandmother
Right.
ayahuasca in spirit. It's
Right.
just
Right.
when you take them for the first time and ingest them, you create a full body, total energetic contract with them that cannot be broken for the rest of your life. And many of you listening have worked with these medicines in other lives. You were a priestess in Egypt working with lotus. You were a Mayan elder who mixed cacao, which was their sacred medicine, with the sacred mushrooms. The
Hmm.
Mayans used mushrooms and cacao together. I can feel Mama Cacao really strongly right now. And
And it's
they
so cool that you're
become,
saying that, Chris, because somebody like myself, because of my energetic sensitivity, when you're just talking about them, it's the same thing when we talk about our loved ones in spirit, how they start to fill the
yes,
room. It's the same way. So I can already feel the engagement with the medicines as you call them in. So it's very, very powerful. And as you were talking, I was just getting a flashback to a past life regression that I did many, many years ago, where I was an Egyptian, where I was an Egyptian royalty, where I died in a cave though. I like left everybody and went into a cave. And
yeah,
so it's interesting how, as you were talking about the Blue Lotus, the energy around that, how that visual memory came through.
because that's
Um,
what she does. She opens your
yeah,
psychic centers so that you,
very
like
cool.
when you work with Lotus and you imagine a rose, how we do in our mediumship
Right,
classes,
right.
see the rose and she is the clairvoyant activator. So even when we're talking about her, she can bring up that remembrance and it's very visceral for us because she's so third eye. She also opens up your telepathic abilities where
Right.
Cacao opens your, she is the queen of hearts.
Yes.
And like for me, I believe if everyone switched from coffee to cacao
Right. Right.
in the
Yes.
morning, and the thing is that I do want to bring up that s- some of these medicines are not endangered. Like we have to be careful with ayahuasca and iboga because of the black market, and also ayahuasca takes a long time to grow. It can take 10 years for it to fully mature to be turned
Hmm.
into medicine.
Hmm.
So I work with ayahuasca from a sanctuary in Peru called Garden of Peace, or Seeds of Peace is the organization, and they replant ayahuasca vine every single time they harvest it, and they replant it way more than they harvest it.
Here's
So
something that would be really cool, and I have to
yeah,
see what comes up for. So because of the AO scanner stuff that I use, it's through a company called Solex. The technology was originally, started because it was owned by the Russians. They sent their astronauts into space. They needed to be able to monitor their physical bodies. But the technology in this obviously is not from this world.
right.
And one of the things that you can do is it's called an imprinter. So you can energetically take, so I could take a medicine. So, conceptually, I could take some blue lotus
Hmm.
and I could imprint it into my water or my homeopathic pellet or my is that could be, I feel
So
like when
our
we
medicines
think about
are
going in the
imprinted
future,
already.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're totally onto something. We can imprint things with the medicines without that technology, but that technology makes it easier, if not more visceral or
Right.
more
Right.
physical. So again,
Yes.
we don't need it, but that doesn't mean we can't use it or
Yeah.
that it doesn't have benefit. So for instance, the MDMA that we work with, we call it purple rain because it has a purple color, and Prince is my main spirit guide.
Right. Yes.
And so when we work with Purple Rain, he does tend to come in. He comes into all the medicine experiences. People are like, "Why is Prince here?" And I'm like, "I know why." But for instance, it has no spirit in it. Okay,
Right.
it is a chemical compound. So I imprint the clinical medicines that I have with an energy, and I actually imprint it like lemon sky. I always pair with anti lotus because they sort of go together. Lemon sky would be the medicine for the 3D people that need the fireworks show
Right.
that
Right.
matches her energy the most,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
MTA, or Snow White as we call it, comes from sassafras. So we actually mix it with sassafras so that you have this intense clinical experience, but the spirit of sassafras is the one driving the show.
Right.
Okay.
It's like the
And
fun bus. You're on the fun bus.
yes, yes. And it's imprinted. So the Snow White, even though it's just it comes from sassafras, there's no sassafras molecules left in it. It's just a compound from it.
Hmm.
Well, that medicine has the sassafras code when we work with it imprinted on it. Not only because they're mixed together, but because it's intention, and I do that on purpose. So imagine doing that with your water, where you're able to take the essence of blue lotus and infuse it into your water like a blessing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the chemical compounds, apomorphine and luciferine, that are in the blue lotus, which have amazing effects for the body and Parkinson's disease. Blue lotus is incredible for Parkinson's disease. That you will be lacking. But again, if it's the spirit that you're looking for, who carries the codes, who
Mhm.
wants to guide you, and she's like the fun aunt. She's Mama Cacao's older sister, who's weird, who gives you tarot cards when Mama's not looking,
Right.
and like encourages you to be weird. She's like, I'm not getting married. I live by fly by the seat of my pants sort of energy.
Right.
And when you have that relationship with her, absolutely, what you're talking about could be revolutionary or groundbreaking, being able to take the essence of some of these plants and not just vibrationally put them in there like a spagyric or a vibropathic,
Right.
but
Right.
actually using technology to take that frequency and imprint it
Yeah.
um, where it's measurable would be incredible. Because the reason that I work with clinical medicines and psilocybin so much is so that we can use less of those plants, so that
Right.
we are, being
You're not
mindful of
using
the
them
planet.
up. And
That's
so
right.
that way it can reach the masses. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the whole thing, Jesus turning water into wine. That, being able
Mhm.
to do that is huge. They keep showing
I
me this, so I want you to touch
Yeah.
on this because
Well, real quick, I just want to say for people watching, if you're
okay,
interested in working with these medicines and without even using them, I have a shamanic guided journey for cacao, sassafras, psilocybin, and blue lotus on YouTube,
beautiful.
and where their frequency is encoded into the journey, and they're anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. It includes breath work, guided visualization, but it is a shamanic journey where we take you into the lower world. You meet the plant spirit, and there's some kind of shift that happens for you. Again, you're talking about imprinting. Even in my voice, I like when I sing or I do certain things, some of the plant medicines are imprinted in my frequency in that way. I've worked
Right.
with
Yes.
shamans who would do light language or do ikaros, which are sacred songs and chants that go with certain medicines like
Right.
ayahuasca and wachuma, and their frequency is imprinted in their voice.
Right.
So
Yes.
this imprinting conversation is really important, and
Yes.
it's also kind of where we're reaching now is
Yes.
imprinting. So I'm
And
sorry to interrupt, but
and it's more so like it goes into, you watch a commercial on TV, like don't even think for a minute that the dark is not tapping into this
Totally.
magic or this technology, right?
You know
That's
how many times I'm watching, these damn ads that pop up, whether it's on Peacock or YouTube or whatever,
right,
like dental commercials will come on because they
right,
they would love to just inject you with fluoride.
right, right,
I have to say cancel, delete the entire time because I can feel it doing something. Not all of them,
right,
but
right.
some of them I can literally feel it trying to program me.
Yes,
And
yeah, absolutely.
it's intense how if they can imprint that sort of thing on there, we
Hmm.
can imprint something different.
Yes, there's
So
always a countering. We're always able to counter it.
absolutely.
So, so for somebody like myself and like yourself, and probably a lot of the, people that are listening to us, the light workers for sure, you probably have, the ability to be a lucid dreamer. You probably have a very, like I said, you could follow Chris on his meditation. So then you're interacting with the frequencies. But there are people, and it's interesting because whenever I would run into somebody like this and a client or meeting somebody, and I would always be like, what do you mean you don't what okay, first of all, what do you mean that you don't dream very often? And then second of all, what do you mean that you dream in black and white? So for people like that, this is like, you're people who should explore using frequencies for healing. But Chris, tell us what you're picking up about, because will be people that are listening that are being like, yeah, you know what? I don't dream very often, or I dream in black and white. What do you mean? There's colors. You see colors in people's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I'm picking up about that is everyone. This gets into the conversation of like some people who don't have an internal dialogue and some people who, like are the people who don't dream NPCs, which I don't even really like that conversation. I'm playful when I talk about things like that because we can get really superior as light workers. Like we're the
Right.
star seeds and light workers that are real, and you all are just video game characters because
Right.
I don't agree with you and you voted for the person I didn't want you to vote for. That's ridiculous.
Right.
So my thing is there's everyone experiences some type of energetic exchange or experience. It's the word I'm going to use when they go into the sleep realm or when they go into that place. Just many people, their brains are set up not to retain that information because of density,
Hmm.
because of how dense their vibration is now. So that, like even I can remember some of the dreams that I had last night that were very vivid, but I don't remember all of them
Hmm.
because that's a practiced trait. So my advice to certain people would be, you can draw the Neptune symbol and place it under your pillow. You can, oh, if you want to remember your dreams and have lucid dreams, work with Blue Lotus, call her
Right.
in, or take the a Blue Lotus, drink some Blue Lotus tea, which is not very strong. The Lotus we work with has 200 Blue Lotus flowers in a down distilled down to a resin in each capsule.
Right.
That's different than working with a few petals from one flower in a tea. That's
Right.
why people will say, I don't really know what it's doing. Like I like it, but it's just not strong enough. It can take quite a bit of Blue Lotus for our frequency, not the
Right.
ancient
Right.
Egyptians, but our
Right.
frequency to
Right.
really go there.
Yeah.
But that can definitely help. But you are having an experience. You're just not translating it the way other people do. And I've never heard of people dreaming in black and white. But what they're showing me is that these people are um, getting stuck in the lower astral.
Hmm.
And there's a realm of the lower astral that is sort of like kind of like the upside down in Stranger Things, or
Right.
it's sort of a I don't know how it expresses duality in such a very visceral, strong way.
Right.
Um, they're also showing me that some people have had the experience of dreaming in black and white and also dreaming in color and would want to know why some of the dreams are in black and white and why some of them are in color. Um, Okay, there's two reasons for that. Because we associate black and white with being old or ancient, so they're remembering certain memories that they have, and their brain is turning it into a black and white movie, if
Right,
you will.
right,
But then there's actually certain people who are coming back, and they went to a realm that exists beyond our color spectrum.
right,
And so they didn't, when they brought it back as it actually was, but their brain, none of the colors or vibrations were able to be translated by the brain. So it showed up as imagery that just was not filled in with color frequency.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been shown that there's an actual, it's almost a, I mean, it's a glitch in the human vehicle that's put there on purpose. And that can be just the calcification of the pineal gland.
Yes, which is why they're not able to get into the upper astrals or just their vibration isn't going to those more multidimensional places. They're
Right,
going to the collective thought realm
right.
where every thought that's ever been thought exists. And
Yes.
so there's heaven there, but it's more of like what our idea of heaven is, not what actual heaven would
Right,
be.
right,
And there's hell there,
right,
which is,
right.
and so the black and white, for some, it almost feels like they're going to a realm that literally looks black and white because of the way that we associate, like in astrology, we associate movies and cinema and screens and lenses with Neptune and Pisces energy because it's glamour and illusion and fantasy. And Neptune rules the astral realm in traditional astrology, and Pisces energy is the dreamy, dreamer energy.
Right.
And so there's this kind of you could say level in the lower astral, if we even want to call it lower and higher, where everything actually looks black and white, because
Hmm.
that's how humans for many hundreds of years saw, like, unless it was a painting, when you saw yourself in a picture, it was black and white.
Right.
So
Yes. Well, the
there's
initial
even,
programming, right? When they started to use, right? Yeah.
yes,
The
yes, that
visual
programmed
programming.
us in certain ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. And then
yeah,
just one other thing that can be also can affect, that, and it affects your ability in so many things, spiritual aspects, but is bringing alcohol into your body. So just the vibrational, um, and again, not without not in judgment, not saying that, but just from a vibrational perspective, when you bring that into your body, it literally shuts down everything, right? Like it's a we know it's a depressant, but it's a dampener on your DNA, on
yeah.
your intuition, on everything. And I know, from working with lots of clients who, when they were still just in moderation, you know, consuming alcohol, that they still were not able to, have the lucid dreams, not, not be able to get into a deep meditation, not be, and that's just because then they're just showing me that when you consume alcohol, it packs in the density. So it's almost like a cementer. It binds with the density, the frequencies, and it makes like a cement of it in your body, which then is so much harder. I mean, you can break it up and move it, but it makes it so much harder to rise in frequency, right?
Absolutely. And my mother is, ooh, I'm like, do I say this? My mother consumes quite a bit of alcohol.
Right.
Okay. So, um, and she, that's all I'm going to say about that. She has dreams every single night that are very vivid about her dad, her mom, her sisters. Everyone in her dreams are passed away. Both of my parents, my dad is Pisces sun, my mom is Pisces moon. My mom is Cancer rising, just like I am in the
Hmm.
Pisces decadent, which would be the last 10 degrees of Cancer, just
Right.
like mine. So, someone like her is still going to have the dreams and she's remembering them every single night, even
Right.
though she's going to sleep every night tipsy to drunk. Let's just say that.
Right.
And
Right.
has for the past 10, 15 years. But there's no shift. She's
Right.
always at work,
Right.
stressed about having to work,
Right.
even though she's retired now. And there's dead people everywhere.
Right.
But
I
nothing
love that you bring
changes.
this in,
It's the
Chris.
same thing every single night.
Right, because when we go into the dream state, so when you reach the vibrational point where when you go into the dream state, it becomes a healing state. It becomes a state where you actually go in and work in. My mom
Yes.
was the same thing growing up. She was an alcoholic,
Yeah.
and it was the same thing. But
That was what
interesting
I
that you
didn't
say
want
this.
to say. I just don't, I'm having that word.
That word, but
Do I
well, I
say
mean,
that?
it tells our listeners what we're
Mama,
talking
I love
about.
you.
It's not a judgment. It's
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 the
what it
truth.
was, right?
Yeah.
It's triggering. It'll be triggering, but I mean that's. Do you know how many of us have this experience in our experiences? That's
Yeah.
it's huge. But my mom was also, she also was a big dreamer. Like she would often wake up, oh, I had this great dream and it was about this and so was in
Yeah.
my dream. So she had the ability to do it, but I can honestly say that my mom didn't do a lot of healing in her
Right.
in this particular lifetime.
Yeah.
She
And
didn't. She
neither
wasn't
does
able
my
to.
mother.
And I know for myself, when I go into the dream state, it gets deep sometimes. Like it gets like crazy deep where you only have fractional memory of it
Yeah.
because they've done so much work on you that it would blow your mind if you
Oh
understood it
yeah. And our
all.
brain can't even translate
Right.
what actually happened.
Right, right.
You know?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So just to keep that in mind, if you are somebody who is, really kind of deciding, this is I'm I'm all in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work with the plant medicine. I'm going to work with the frequencies. I'm going to change. I'm going to drink some celery juice. Whatever you're going to do, just don't spiritual bypass that little big component, because again, when we talk about everything being a frequency, carrying a frequency, even in moderation, it's like I don't drink bleach in moderation,
That's right.
right?
Right. Yeah. And there's the world we live in is designed to tether you to as much physical density as possible and carbon material.
Exactly.
And so the dream world unlocks you from that. But so there's so much stress and so much happens in our day to day. Like so much happens every
Right.
day.
The people
This
want an
person and that
escape.
person and that
Yeah.
article and that thing that you liked.
Right.
And it's so much.
Triggers everywhere.
And most of your dreams, you're actually spending working through the subconscious stuff, the
Hmm.
emotions, the programs, the conversations. So you don't even really get to lift into those higher realms. And even when you do, there's so much that's happening in your subconscious that's trying to detox itself during your dreams that you don't hold on to what happened in those upper realms when you fully come back.
Right.
It's you just even remember, if you do remember anything, the processing dreams that happen before you wake up, that
Hmm.
are sort of the subconscious detoxifying itself
Right.
or
Yes.
processing things.
Right.
So you don't even have any energetic space in your brain to register what happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And I just want to touch base on one more thing. When we were talking about ego earlier and medicines, regardless of all of that, like the astrology that I use is total, it's designed to tap you out of the matrix. It's a glitching of the matrix type of astrology, and it's designed to help you understand where you're going in your ascension process and the templating that will now affect you now that you're awakening and
hmm
ascended,
hmm
where the tropical zodiac that we currently work with in traditional astrology is a false matrix program,
right.
and it doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect. It's very much has an effect on you. So the ascended astrology chart is the false matrix chart and the ascended astrology chart overlaid on top of each other so that
Right.
you can see your false matrix self, your FM, and your AM ascended matrix self represented together so that you can try to harmonize that. You can master this false matrix templating so that you'll naturally lift into this ascended matrix, and all of it, the plant medicine, the astrology, is all about helping you re-identify ego with a higher aspect of yourself, higher timeline, a higher truth,
Mhm.
letting more of the soul come into the body and knowing how to clear the programs and densities to allow that light to come in, which it naturally will when you clear those things.
Right.
And the medicine is so helpful because I've worked with many different types of people, and I've worked with some really judgmental and really insidious wouldn't be the right word. Ego
Rigid?
driven.
Rigid? Is rigid a good word for them?
Rigid feels like they're strong in their beliefs, or they're just immovable, or a little stubborn, or
Right.
have a stick up their butt, which is
Right.
there is definitely that, because you have a lot of religious programming that's finding its way into the New Age. The New Age spirituality is a religion that
Yes.
the
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
archons,
Chris, we will definitely have to go into another
yeah, yeah,
podcast episode for this because this could be
yeah.
yes, yes. When we talk about, all of the light workers, signing off with God bless you and God loves you and
Well, and for thousands of years, that's what their ancestors did. So it's showing up for them again, and they're just put, instead of rosary beads and holy water, they're using Florida water and crystals and sage.
right, right,
And
right,
they're idolizing Archangel Michael and Lakshmi and the goddesses,
right.
but they're doing the same thing that you would do to Saint Michael and Mother Mary and Jesus, and it's all, new packaging. The
Yeah,
real truth comes from within, and that's what the
right,
medicines really help you with when you're ready for. The
right,
real
right.
truth comes from within you, and you have a lot of people out here in the spiritual world who are extremely judgmental because they don't realize they're being that way. They have an ego block to it. So while a part of me does want to say "f you," which I have before, because I am allowed to be a human and I'm allowed to um, interface with someone who is projecting all of their stuff onto me,
Right,
and decide in that moment the most spiritual thing for me to do would be to set a boundary and be true to myself. And
right,
being true to myself doesn't mean I think you should go sit with that.
right,
Being true
right.
to myself in this moment is F you, have a good life.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
because I'm obviously not the medicine healer or light worker or mirror for you,
Right.
because it doesn't matter. A lot of people have turned me into their villain in the last many years. My whole life that has happened, and that's happened with lots of light workers, healers, triggerers.
No,
I'm
really,
Chiron, so I'm going to
really
trigger things.
powerful light workers are triggers. They are
Ah,
because I did my video on this today on my post on it is, the higher we get in frequency, the more light that we have, the capacity we have, the bigger target we become for the dark. That's just the truth.
totally.
But
And that is
also the
not
truth that
something
goes
you want to reach for. It's scary. It can be
right.
scary to
But we
fight
also
archons in the middle of the night.
yes. But we also, we have a different vibrational frequency within ourselves. So now when we are, fighting with the dark and having, all of the demons and the parasites and all of the stuff
Yes.
coming at us,
Yes. Yes.
we're less affected by it because
Yep.
we've done the work.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We don't fall into a place of fear. Yes, for a
That's right.
nanosecond, we may fall into the human, the human condition.
Absolutely. I'm
I
trying to
was,
sleep right now.
right, right.
Whatever that is looks very scary. I'm a
Get them
human.
out. Get them out of here. I was telling Chris we had the other day, you guys will see this on Friday, but just this week we had our Canadian election and it wasn't the elected official for our prime minister was not the one that many of us who I would call freedom fighters, many of us who see the big picture, it was not that person that got elected. It was the other one. It was the other one that we know, when I say when you know,
Yeah.
that is, with the Illuminati, his it was money symbols all around him with like evil energy imprint around it, right? So I put this on because here's the thing, and my followers and my listeners know this. I show up raw and real. I'm not coming up in light and love and rainbows and unicorns. It's not my gig, it's not my niche. I
Right.
I don't have to do that. And when I made the video, I was sharing with them what spirit gave me as who the winner was going to be. And it wasn't the person that I wanted to be the winner. It was the opposite of it. So I wasn't coming out and bragging and being like, oh, yeah, my guys win. It wasn't like that. Right. And it was funny because on my Facebook page, there were, and it's funny how this energy can get exaggerated sometimes because there was 3 or 4 people. That's it. Just 3 or 4 people out of like hundreds of people who felt the need to tar and feather me on my page,
Yeah.
right? They were like, how dare you? Why are you showing up on your spiritual page doing this, talking about politics? I followed you for so long, and now I'm just ashamed. I'm going to unfollow you. Like
Good. That
all
means your
bringing God
frequency
into
got
the
really clear, Jody. That means something about you got really clear and you
right.
pushed out people who are not right for your medicine as
Right.
if
Well,
you're ayahuasca, you
absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. And this, and
Yeah.
so, I did a second video of which was like, okay, so if you have a reaction to anything or anyone like that, you have two choices. You have the choice to say from your higher perspective, because this is what your soul would do. Why am I being triggered by that? What's that bringing up to the surface that I'm carrying so much of, that with
Yeah.
that little bit of a push that I'm gushing it? What is that? Here's an
Right.
opportunity for me to heal that, right? That's option number one. Or your other option then is to walk away.
Yeah.
You
Or both.
Right. But if you don't resonate with it, do you know what I mean? If what you're saying, it doesn't resonate with you and you don't feel that it's something that serves a purpose for you. So if there's no resonance, there's no purpose, walk away.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
we need to do, right? That's
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
on the receiving end of it, like Chris said, how he's been a trigger for many people, and I did this, I energetically, a few energetically, and I might have actually blocked a couple of
You might
because
have actually needed to do that
yeah,
because when people who gaze upon your work and gaze upon you with disdain and that sort of thing, no matter what, no matter how much selenite and sage you have,
right,
some of us empaths can feel some of that. Okay.
absolutely,
It's just
absolutely,
unnecessary. It's like you're mad at your mom and you're taking it out on me in this
right,
Instagram
exactly,
post.
exactly.
And
But
because
you
I'm
don't
so
you don't need to hang
sensitive,
out
I'm
in my
feeling it.
playground anymore. I
That's
don't
right. You
need
don't
to
have
see you in my
access to my
playground.
energy. You can
Yeah,
be very clear without being mean or vicious and that sort
right,
of thing. And also, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is say F you
exactly,
to let the
exactly,
person know you've put me on some pedestal as some like Mother Teresa healer guide, like I'm some
right,
nun or priest,
right,
and
right.
I'm a human. And if you can't let me be a human, um, then I've had a client at a retreat one time who got really upset at me for putting my hands on female participants, and I wanted to say to her, "You know that I'm not into them, right? Like, are we clear on that? And
Right,
second of all, you're looking for something you want. She sees herself as a retreat entrepreneur, is what she calls
right,
herself.
right,
And although she's not hosted any retreats, that's interesting. That's
right.
a
One of
that
those I
again
know it
feels
all.
like a false light worker sort of thing. I
Right,
do
right.
believe even the false light workers are on their way to waking up, but there are many of them that come who are um, infected. Oh, I hate saying words like that. Who have entity attachments, who have archon
Absolutely,
influences, dark
absolutely.
influences, and don't know it because of their trauma. I've had these things in the past. Okay,
Right,
I've
right,
witch hunted people in my 33 years of being alive and didn't because I consider myself such a witch who's been witch hunted. The medicines, especially Wachuma, the cactus medicine, he showed me one time a past life memory of me being a witch hunter. It wasn't just, it was almost, it looked very Salem.
right,
It looked
right,
like 1600s or something. There was someone up there, and I asked grandfather because most of my memories are me being a witch, things being stuffed into my throat and lit on fire, weird things.
right.
And I said, Grandfather, why am I over here and why am I not seeing this memory from my perspective up
Mhm.
there? Why am I viewing it from over here? And he said, look down. And I looked down at my hands and I had like stones it was almost like we were throwing stones.
Yeah, you were the
He
hunter.
said,
Yeah,
you were the witch hunter.
yeah.
And I was like, ooh my gosh, like
Right, right.
everything we judge, there's a part of us that has done it in another life or has
Absolutely.
the ability. And knowing that, I have compassion for some of these people who have come in and just tried to villainize me for no reason or
Right,
came
right,
into a retreat just to copy ideas and weren't there to actually heal, but then wanted to make it seem like I was the reason they didn't have the experience they wanted. Um, when they came in wanting to uh, tear people like me down. I've
Right.
had a client accuse me of sexually abusing her,
Oh no.
which is in the medicine community. There's a lot of that happening at ayahuasca
Really?
retreats in the country. Yeah, people putting people into medicine and taking advantage of them in many different ways energetically. This has happened to me.
Wow.
So when she did that, I asked Spirit, and they were very clear that she, based on her childhood trauma, she has an archon entity attachment,
Hmm.
which was sort of new to me at the time,
Right.
um, to even go into that realm. And I don't like to say, "Oh, she's got an attachment, you've got an attachment," because someone could say that about me. People have
Right.
said that about me.
Well, and we probably do at any given moment. We're not just
Right.
necessarily 100% light.
Right. And
Let's
I
be
have
honest,
darkness,
right?
and maybe they were seeing that,
Right.
but also,
Like our clothes get dirty just like everybody
yes.
else's, right?
Absolutely. And I also just have to reiterate to some of these people, you are a female. I don't like that. And and I'm being playful about it, but it was when it gets very Twilight Zone like that. I don't feel
Right,
safe
right,
with you. You
right.
sexually violated me. I put my hand on your back and asked you for permission first.
Would have been
Okay?
like, well, what kind of medicine were you taking before you came to the retreat? Because it seems to be
Yeah.
scrambling your
Yeah.
cognitive ability just a little bit.
I know you're gay, but that night I think that, and I was like, I just don't, you know, I believe, and this is for people who are ready to hear it. There are archons, there are dark energies, there are false matrix energies, AI programs that come from Saturn. There are matrix mind control frequencies that show up in people, that will show up in light workers. None of
Hmm.
us are totally immune to it, especially those of us who are new on the path or haven't done the work.
Right,
And a lot of times they will get into your clients. I'm talking to spiritual practitioners right now. They
right,
will get into your friends, they will get into your clients, and they will lie to them and say things to them in their mind. They're
right,
mind
right,
parasites, these
right.
archons,
Yes.
which the archons are the ones that are possessing the alpha
Right.
lizard beings. And so those beings are not just doing all of this for no reason. They're actually possessed by archons, which are mind parasites that come from a void realm.
Right, right,
And these mind parasites get into the mind and infect it. And what they want to do is make light workers, mystics, people who are really stepping up and doing the work, who aren't perfect. I
right,
look back at 5 years ago and go, wow, I'm so much more grounded and embodied as a
right,
facilitator and
right.
practitioner now. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine how I'm going to be at 80 years
Right,
old. And
right.
that's my goal, is to continue to evolve. But they want those people to doubt themselves,
Hmm.
because when she accused me of sexually violating her, this isn't recent. So I, in that moment, told myself, I have to get out of this. I'm not meant to do this work. It almost did what it was
Right.
designed to
Was
do.
trying to get you to tap out.
Yes, it
Yes.
almost did it. And
Right.
so that's the entire goal, is really getting so clear in yourself and being so centered in your own power and
Hmm.
your own um, in your own heart, knowing when the false matrix programs are
Right.
showing up.
Right.
Because,
Yes.
I don't think that person is evil or anything like that, but
Right.
if you have an archon entity attachment, you're going to be making decisions that may not be in alignment with higher realms, that
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's
And this
hope
is
for
not
me.
just again, because Spirit's just showing me this is not just a woo woo spiritual, can't see things, just because I don't know if you know about this, but if we go back into like the history of medicine, there was and I don't have his name on the top of my tongue, the tip of my tongue, but he was a psychiatrist, and this is I'm talking at the very beginning of medicine, and he knew that there was something that came into the body. He thought it was bacteria, is what his theory was, but he would pull preventively, he would pull all of the teeth from all of his patients because he knew that the bacteria or whatever this was that was causing them to go crazy and causing them to hallucinate and be evil and speak in tongues. He pulled their teeth out preventatively because he believed that that's where the entity was coming into the body. He called it a parasite. And he did it to his whole family. He pulled out
Whoa.
all of his teeth to his entire family to stop this. So it happens here in the human realm on a very physical level as
Yes.
well. So people don't think that this is just Oh, yes, there's a spirit entity that's coming in and coming. No, it's physically inside your body. Like it's
Yeah.
in your body.
Yes. Yes, we have
Yes,
parasites. All of us have parasites in our body, and they claim we
absolutely.
get in our bodies, excuse me, and they claim that we get them from unwashed fruits and vegetables, and you definitely can get them from meat, dairy, and egg products, of course. But
Right.
sure, they can be on the ground and on unwashed vegetables and fruits as well. But they are even CHEM trails.
Yes. Oh, hopefully we don't get taken down for that one because that everybody should know about by now.
Well,
Yes.
the censorship is
Okay.
getting a little
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
So,
Yes. They do. They have
those
particles.
things,
There's stuff in the air. The particles can
yes,
come
there's
into it.
stuff in the air that's being released
Yeah.
by things in the air that make these lines of clouds in the air.
Yes.
And there's even parasites that are found in that debris, microplastics,
Oh yeah.
nanoparticles,
Yeah. Yeah.
parasites. So the whole point is that they want the parasites in the body because those microparasites, little organisms,
Yeah.
their
Don't use the
frequency is
NaNO word though. Don't do that because
I
that's a
gotta I gotta be careful about that one too.
yeah.
So their frequency is to claim someone or something as a
Yes.
host and
Yes.
then feed off of it.
Yes. They
Well, that
infiltrate. Yes.
matches exactly the Archon rep
Right.
will
Yes. Yes.
energy.
Yes.
And so it almost is like putting it inside of us so that when dark energies can attach because we're emitting a frequency because we hold
Yes.
that frequency within us.
Yes.
um, so it's easier to attach and infiltrate. And also, if you've ever done a parasite cleanse, I've had parasite cleanses where I've woken up a little suicidal. Like,
Right.
not that I would
Yeah.
do it, not like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
Kundalini awakening,
Right.
but
Right.
just
Right.
this doom and gloom
Yes.
because they're dying off, and
Oh
their die
yes.
off discharge that they release
Yes. Yes.
causes negative thoughts,
Oh
nightmares,
yeah.
all
I had
kinds of stuff.
when I was cleansing hard, like killing the bugs hard,
Yeah,
I was experiencing the worst anxiety that I
I
had
know.
had in my lifetime. Like
Yeah.
it was like, and you don't put the two of them together. And they should teach us more about this, but it was the die off. I was literally
Yes.
feeling the vibrational frequency of these energetic beings dying. They were like
Dying.
freaking out. I was
It's
killing
a
them, so they
mass
were freaking out.
genocide when you take that clove and
Absolutely.
that wormwood and that,
Absolutely.
so it's
The good news
and
is though, the less population they take up in your body, the less symptoms you have when you're doing so that's wonderful.
totally. And
So Chris, we can
one more key before we go. I'm so
okay,
sorry. I
because we
just
have
want
to
people,
yes.
as we're talking about the parasites, please everyone go read the book Who Built the Moon by Christopher Knight. And please understand that the parasites in your body are directly linked to the phases of the moon.
Oh
And
wow.
there is a reason for that. And so if you're going to do a parasite cleanse, you should start on a new moon. And it's a really strong passion of mine to share the word, if you will,
Yeah.
about the perfectly round, extremely large,
Right.
metallic, hollow mind control satellite that is hovering above us at all times and its relation to the mind control programs that are in you. My camera's going to go off, by the way, but I'm still here. And that the parasites are linked to that. And so to do a little bit of research about that, because I believe that the lunar matrix decoding and dissolving and the parasite genocide that we're all kind of on as light workers are connected, and they're a huge part of our reclamation of our sovereignty.
I agree.
And
I agree
and that was all
100%.
I needed to say.
That's beautiful.
My
And I'll put
camera agrees with you. It's done.
it's like that's it, Chris. You're done. They don't want you to say too much more. See, that's what happens when when you're speaking the truth in a big, powerful way. They shut you down. That's it. I'll make sure I put the links in there. I'll get that book. I
I
haven't read that
appreciate that.
book, and so I'll check out that book for sure. And we will definitely have to continue this conversation, my friend. in with a
Yes.
longer camera time for sure.
Yeah, yeah, we heated up my camera, and I just want to say
Blew it.
thank you
We
for
just
having
knocked it
me,
out.
and thank you to everyone for witnessing this conversation and for being on the path and for being open to our perspectives and just to remember that we're all in this together, um, even the dark forces of the forces that we feel are against us. If we can somehow find our way to feeling love and connection and blast them with love, I think we're all gonna be okay. We're
We'll
moving
be
in the right
okay.
direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, and we will
Thank
definitely
you.
have you back. And thank you everybody so much for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed this ride. I know it was a bit of twist and a turn. I hope you followed us. You might have to go back and watch it a second time or a third time, take some notes. But we will have you back, Chris, as always. It's always a pleasure spending time with you and
Absolutely.
sharing energy. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Collective Silversations podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we hope that you found our chat both inspiring and thought provoking. Your support means everything to us, and we're excited to keep this journey going with you. So make sure that you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a review and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps us grow and connect with more wonderful listeners like you. Until next time, stay curious and keep those soulversations flowing.